Hi everyone, Grant K here for the Flame Learning channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new color picker available in the 2017 version of the Flame products. This functional tool is constantly used on a regular basis for anything color related and has now received a well-deserved redesign. The old color picker is now officially retired and has been replaced with a new expanded color picker that is modern and very flexible. We'll use Batch Paint Node as the basis for our example. However, any instance of calling up the color picker will be exactly the same throughout the Flame products. This includes timeline, batch effects, and all the tools within the application. So whenever you click on a color pot, the color picker will launch as expected. The window is larger than the previous version and contains more options and information when it comes to making a color decision. Starting off, you have a palette where you can click a preset color. Or you can click the pick button and use the cursor to sample a pixel color anywhere on the interface. Once your color is chosen and you want to apply it, you need to click OK to confirm your choice. If you click anywhere off the color picker, your selection won't stick and you would need to resample the color again. Now when it comes to refining the color in the color picker, you have a wide range of tools to tweak the values. Firstly, you have all these color sliders to adjust and tweak the color if you want. The hue, luminance, and saturation color sliders are always on screen. You can pull the slider values simply by clicking and dragging on them. This will affect the original color sample. But if you want to pick a color in the sliders rather than dragging them, just click anywhere on the sliders to sample a pixel value. This works for 8-bit, 10-bit, and 12-bit color bit depths. For 16-bit color samples, you need to click the pick button and then click the color within the slider. Next, underneath these sliders, you have a choice to display either RGB or YUV color sliders depending on your needs. And on the side of each slider, you can see the exact color values of the current color selection. This numerical information can be displayed differently by toggling this pull-down menu. Now the bit depth of the color palette is normally defaulted to the bit depth of the project. But this can change depending on a media setting or manually toggling the pull-down menu. Here you will find all the expected bit depths such as 8, 10, 12, and 16-bit. Moving to the top right of the window, you have the color palette, which is self-explanatory, but there are also a few other tabs. The second tab is the spectrum. This lays out a range of colors based on all the slider values. By adjusting the sliders, you can manipulate the range of colors displayed in the spectrum. When you click and drag in the spectrum, you are able to select a specific color within the displayed range. The third tab is Canvas. This region allows you to paint color samples to create a color mixture. Just pick colors from anywhere and paint them in the color palette to create your own mix. In order to sample a pixel color on the canvas, you need to click Pick and then sample the color. If at any point you want to clear the canvas, just click the Clear button to start again. So you can paint colors in the canvas and sample a specific pixel color in the canvas with the Pick tool. In fact, wherever you click down with Pick, it will sample the single pixel color values under the cursor. Now, if you wanted to take an average of the pixel's colors, you would use the Average tool. This functions in two ways. Click the Average button to enable it. If you click and drag with the cursor, it will draw a box selection. The color average will be determined from the colors within the selection. When you release the cursor, the color will stay in the color pot. The second way of determining the color average is through a keyboard shortcut. Click the Average button again. This time, hold Alt and click and drag the cursor. As you drag the cursor over the pixels, the color average will keep updating from the color values sampled under the cursor. So you can generate an average color based on a box selection or tracing a region with the cursor. Both are incredibly handy. Now once you've chosen your color, you can do what we did before. and click OK to confirm your choice. But if you want to keep the color, just click the Add button and it will be added to the bank of custom color pots. You have 12 custom color pots, and any new colors will be added to the first pot and the others will shift down. If you fill up all 12 color pots and add another custom color, they will all shift down again and the original 12th color will be removed. Just so that you know, these custom colors are saved as part of the project and not user profile. Now the final area I want to focus on is the big color pot and the two small ones next to it. The big color pot is the currently sampled color. All new sampling will load in the big color pot, as I'm sure you figured out. The bottom small color pot is the original color before coming into the color picker. So if you were painting with white and clicked on the white color pots for the color picker, then this small color pot will remain white. You can change the color and confirm with OK, or you can cancel the color picker and the color will remain white. So you can always refer to the original color while tweaking a new color in the color picker window. Now the small color pot at the top performs an interesting function that could be very useful as you make a color decision. Say for instance you choose color 1. Now you like color 1, but you just want to choose a second color just to be sure. You could add color 1 to your custom color pots, but that would fill them up very quickly. Or you could just go ahead and sample color 2 straight away. When you do this, color 1 gets loaded into the small color pot. So now you have color 2 loaded in the large color pot, and you can compare that color to color 1 in the small color pot. If you decide you'd rather use color 1, you can click on the small pot and the colors will toggle around. Think of this as a temporary holding area for the last selected color. This should hopefully be helpful when choosing the right color. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, this color picker replaces the old one, and it is available everywhere in the Flame products. So you'll be using this in the timelines, batch effects, and all the tools where you need to sample a color. Be sure to check out the other videos covering the features, workflows, and updates to the Flame 2017 products. Comments, feedback, and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Flame Learning channel for future videos.